Hey there, it's Kane Minkus, and I'm here with my colleague Jeff. Welcome to the Infinite Mindset podcast here at Industry Rockstar. We're excited to be here with you and look at all things that are going on in AI that are affecting your life and your work and your future. Jeff, thanks for being here. Good to see you, buddy.
You too. Good to see you. We got some big things happening in the market. You know, Kane, in the last 7 days, Meta announced 16,000 layoffs. Okay, and that's just happened. And NVIDIA projected trillions of dollars in chip orders. Okay, there's so much going on. What's this a sign of the times of what's happening?
Well, I mean, clearly, you know, the main narrative is AI. And some of it might be AI washing, some may not be. I mean, I'm not sure at Meta that you get a lot of AI washing. I mean, I think this company is tech, right? So what's happening is what we have been talking about now for a year, is that we're starting to see some of the biggest shakeout in corporate that we've ever had. It's going to keep going like this now for the next year, 2, 3 years. I think that they will start to hire back some people when they start to redesign their work. Yeah. But, you know, I think that you got to dig into the specifics too to understand, you know, where people are getting fired from different jobs and companies. But it does point to the fact that now is the most important time than ever for people to become entrepreneurs. It's not a plan B anymore. It is the only plan. If you want to have security, you create your own opportunities, you create your own clients, you create your own money, you create your own customers, you create your own IP, and you go make it happen. And it's never been easier now with AI. So I think what's happening is honestly a gift. And I know that, you know, someone who might be losing their job or has to go through that transition may not feel that way. I totally want to respect that. It could be a difficult transition for those that are going through it. But it's going to be a great one. I think on the other side of it, we're going to see much better, let's say, experience for humanity, being able to have more empowered decision making. But they'll have to step through that doorway of actually understanding how to do it. This morning, I actually interviewed the former head of Amazon, eBay, and Meta's AI teams. And he was saying that essentially, you know, now people need to learn how to be entrepreneurs. Like the real next game for humans is threefold. And one of those is to be able to understand how to orchestrate and manage their systems. And that means that they have to be able to learn how to become entrepreneurs now. You don't just become an entrepreneur. You have to learn how to be an entrepreneur and what that means in the new world.
Let me give some stats to back it up. It's a little long, but I think it'll back it up here. So what just recently happened is Anthropic published the most detailed AI jobs map ever.
Yep.
Okay, and this is what's pretty shocking is data usage across 800 occupations. Basically, programmers are 75% exposed right now.
Yeah.
70% customer service reps are exposed. Financial analysts, 57%. But here's what's really weird and different is the most surprising at-risk workers earned 47% more than the average, are 4 times more likely to hold graduate degrees, and are disproportionately women. So entry-level hiring from 22 to 25-year-olds is exposed fields is already down 14% since ChatGPT basically launched. So basically, here's what's happening.
It's like, AI didn't hysteria stats.
Yeah, basically, this is interesting.
If you're smart and you got your degrees, or if you're coming into that, or if you're a woman,
this is what's going on. Like, AI didn't come for the warehouse workers first, okay? It came for the lawyers, the analysts, and the programmers. It's basically only the entrepreneurs are going to survive this. It's so intense.
Yes, I know we have a whole bunch of, we manage a whole bunch of construction and workers, and they're all like, want to join us? Like,
the construction workers are last to go. I do agree.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so let's break that down into a few different areas and what's important about that. So first of all, I think that so media is fun with hysteria. This is my opinion on things, but just with our communication with our leaders and our culture, working with thousands of companies, you know, is that it's much more hysteria than it sounds. However, there is a realistic transition into new skill sets. And I think part of what's going on is you're seeing humanity shed old paradigm skill sets. We don't need those anymore. Okay, it's not that we don't need humans, it's that we don't need those skill sets. And so people will reskill and then they will go back in and they'll start.
What do you think they're going to reskill into?
So this is actually the exact conversation I was having this morning with Hassan Sawaf, who's the founder of Explain and was the former head of these different companies in AI. So he was saying, which is what we've been saying, the same thing, which is there's essentially new skills. And instead of having to be smart, now we have to understand how to arrange and orchestrate that intelligence. So we have to actually understand how to architect the systems. The second thing we need is we actually need to be able to have the vision. We have to be able to guide the systems. What do we want done, right? And then the third thing, I'm trying to remember this from just the impromptu thought of having this morning, which is we need to essentially be able to audit the system. So those are the three things, right? So having the vision and being able to orchestrate and architect the systems, and then being able to audit the systems and make sure they make sense. He believes, and this is exactly actually what we've been saying now for, probably two and a half years for humans, is that the future is for those who actually understand how to start to systemically think, guide the vision of the systems, and then make sure that they're doing a great job, course correct them. Not to do it. And one of the metaphors that we use was, if you're guiding a ship to a successful destination, you don't need to be the rower anymore. You're not the rower anymore. And what's great about this is, if you think about it, is you don't need the doers, but humans don't need to be the doers. Now, if humans were hanging out being the doers, and I think a lot of people have kind of passively found themselves into a place where they were just doing things. And maybe it's by fault of educational systems and past paradigms, or maybe it's just by evolution. They've just found themselves doing. We just don't need doers anymore. But what we do need is we do need visionaries, creatives. We need people with wisdom, experience, the ability to course correct, audit, that kind of thing. I mean, there's a whole industry of auditors, right, that are kind of making sure people are doing things, right. Well, that's how it's going to become for this, being able to organize and orchestrate all the intelligence, the systems, the agents, and everything, and then being able to audit them and make sure that what they're delivering to humans is very important. I remember there's going to. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I was doing some research on this, and the distinction that is called signal versus noise. And so inherently, in 50 years ago, this is wild. 50 years ago, the amount of data a human being was predicted to basically to assimilate was about 74 gigabytes in a lifetime, which is essentially one iPhone. That's what this predicted. 50 years ago, it was like the average person is going to assimilate an iPhone worth of data. Now, in one day, the average human is exposed to the same level of gigabytes, 74 gigabytes. 50 years later. And now projected for 2030 is actually 300 gigabytes in a day. So what this means is the skill sets, like you're saying, of tomorrow will be the people who can discern between signal versus noise and what is actually operational and clear versus being distracted by all the noise. And like you say, like the vision, the implementer, not the rower. It's no longer about how much information we can contain in our head. It's how we can make it operational and separate the noise from the signal.
Yeah. Now, some people hear that like, well, if I don't have to be the rower anymore, I'm not valuable. And yes, you're right. As a rower, you're not valuable. But we can shift our identities. We can shift our skills. And we can start to create new things. So there's going to have to be a re-education of humanity. Now, I don't deny it's going to be chaotic. There's going to be some challenges. I mean, a lot of our colleagues and friends at the top leadership positions, whether it's governments or industries or whatever, are basically saying governments are not moving fast enough to actually understand what's going to happen. There's going to be a couple of years of some big chaos. But ultimately, we feel like it will essentially resolve itself into actually a very interesting place for human beings, because we will then actually be able to evolve our value even just to each other and evolve what we're doing. Instead of just being a rower, we can actually start to be the visionaries. We can start to set the metrics, set the goals. We can start to learn how to put together the systems so that they work. It's like, instead of rowing the boat, you're going to learn how to actually build boats so that you can actually now go out and build boats. Then you can direct the boats. Then you can make sure that they're arriving at the right place. Like, it's more of a leadership position. In other words, most human beings are going to find themselves now moving into manager, leadership positions, executive positions, founders, entrepreneurs. Like, we're going to be forced to actually be thinking at a more sophisticated level. And that's not going to necessarily be easy, but it's going to be necessary. And just like all evolution, when it's happened, whether it's been physical evolution, like physical to the earth, like weather, things like that, or whether it's been intellectual evolution, like in the industrial age, we basically had to evolve, and we did, and we will.
Yeah, look, just to second your statement about the fear thing. Sam Altman, I'm just looking at this here. Sam Altman basically says that, seconds what you say, the AI layoffs are actually just AI washing. So a lot of executives are using this AI as cover for cuts they want to make anyway. So I think it's exposing inefficiencies as well. But I actually think that there is such an opportunity for the entrepreneurs right now. But there's I feel for the ones. This is something for the junior workers. Okay, like check this out. Hiring of junior knowledge workers is already down 14%. If you're a 22-year-old starting from scratch in finance or tech, what's your honest advice for them?
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I have a 16-year-old,
Yeah, so you're on it.
and we talk about this every week. We talk about this as much as he'll allow me to discuss it with him. I'm discussing about his future, and as 100% agreement on that young people. I mean, first of all, my son, of course, coming up in an entrepreneurial family, is not planning on having a job. But I'm very clear that there isn't even that pathway, anyways. Even if he wanted to go to try to get some experience, the job, he's not going to go get experience in anything particularly exciting, because by the time he graduates college, which will be 5-6 years from now, think about where we're going to be then, and the need for starting people. I mean, the value of young people was not in their wisdom and experience and knowledge. That was not it. It was in their drive and their willingness to work, and maybe in their futures. But we don't need that anymore. And so now the question is what are they going to create, or what are they going to do, right? And it's going to be a big conundrum for them, because they don't actually have the wisdom and the experience. They're going to have a harder time gaining it. I mean, the people that are really actually benefiting the most from AI right now in the knowledge industry is the 40 to 70-year-olds who have had a career or a lifetime, and they understand how systems should work. They understand what the output should be. They can actually work with the technology to refine it to a level that has to work, to serve other humans. And they can actually benefit, if they're willing to work with the tech, they can benefit from the speed and the intelligence and the predictability nature. But that's because they have the vision. They just need to learn how to architect the systems, which is mostly what we're teaching people. And then they just have to be able to edit or audit the systems, which comes from that wisdom and that experience. Young people don't have that capability. They don't have the ability to set the vision per se. I mean, young people have great visionary ideas and minds, and in some ways they're even more brilliant with innovation and new solutions. But they don't have the experience or the wisdom to understand which star to point the boat to, because they've been there 100 times. And then they're brilliant at putting together the systems, but then they don't know how to necessarily audit the systems because they haven't had the business acumen. And I don't mean that anything against young people. Young people have great innovative ideas. We were all young at one time, coming up with super cool ideas, and lots of young people create awesome businesses and things. But you just can't rush wisdom, experience. It just comes from being around.
Is becoming a through line of value. That's what we're seeing. A lot of the consultants at 40 plus are doing very well because they have the experience in it. I want to switch gears for a second, because this is interesting. AI ethics has become a consumer brand differentiator, and the changes and basically that changes everything for enterprise right now. So there's a hashtag quit GPT movement, and basically ChatGPT lost because of their deal with the Department of Defense. They lost millions of users in a very short period of time. But here's what's interesting: it's no longer which AI is smartest. It's actually about which one can we trust when something goes wrong. What do you have any insights about that?
Well, I have some opinions that I'll share.
Sure, yeah. What's your opinion on it?
I think, to me, I enjoy hearing my great leaders' opinions around things. But I think that it was very commendable for Dario from Anthropic to stick to his values. I think that it's wonderful. And I think that, every business owner and founder who works hard at developing and deploying products needs to determine where their ethics and their where they stand on their values, and then run their company and decide. So I think most leaders applauded Dario I think he was very professional about it as well. He said he was by values against certain uses of the technology, and that became a huge thing, which I think the government was unnecessarily extreme on them, where they were going to red flag them as, basically as like a company that you can't work with. I think that was really extreme and also very childish of the government. Yep. But anyways, that I think is getting worked out. And I think Dario, you can imagine the stress these guys go through. Imagine you're driving a company that's massive, and Dario was actually kind of the underdog. They left OpenAI to go start Claude as a competitor with exactly some of those ideas, to be more, more that authentic, ethical space about how everything was getting managed from the data. They didn't use your data trained on their frontier models as a mass market. So they had a lot of interesting values-based layers that really spoke to a lot of people in this progress. So I think he's wonderful.
Well, it literally resulted in millions leaving overnight. So here's something
from OpenAI or from ChatGPT over to Claude.
Yeah, millions.
Yeah.
And so AI is becoming something more personal. That's what's happening, and preference-wise. So from all this,
well, there's a little bit more though. I don't want to sound like I'm because I'm a huge fan of OpenAI as well. I mean, I'm a little bit agnostic to these technologies and the tools, and of course, it's important to understand how you're representing and supporting the companies. But I think there's also another side to this, which is, the government's job. Part of the government's job is to protect its citizens, and military is a part of the government's job. Like, it's not like everybody wishes that the whole world would be at peace and there would be no need for any sort of weapons or military or anything. But unfortunately, that's not a reality. And the reality is, until we solve that and we get rid of all militaries and all weapons and everything, it needs to be a competitive military. So on the other hand, if you step into that, I think that the government feels like it is essential for for societal.
It's an AI race. It's like it's a power. It's basically an area of national security. It has to be invested in.
Well, yeah, and the specific issue around that was that they had they wanted to use it for what Dario would say is spying on citizens, which he didn't want to use for that, and autonomous weapons, which he didn't want that used for that either, right? I think it's all very commendable, and I think that somebody needed to fill that gap, and I think OpenAI saw it as a business opportunity. And if they wouldn't have filled it, somebody else would have filled it. They're not. The government's not going to. Yeah, they're not going to ignore. They're not going to go. Well, if nobody in the U.S. will do it, we'll just not do it.
We'll just go to China.
Yeah. Well, obviously, right. And obviously they wouldn't, because it's a whole military race against these other countries. So somebody was going to fill it, and I actually think to some degree it's better if we have a super high quality model filling it. Now, I think that the way the government uses it maybe should be regulated, and that should be something that should be regulated by the people and by maybe the checks and balances in the government. I mean, utilizing AI is going to be, they're just a very visible character. But in general, I think ethics in general in the world, how governments, how businesses, how individuals use AI needs to be thoughtful. And we need to be thoughtfully managing that as well. So I think that it was a little bit of an extreme, this idea of leaping from ChatGPT and leaving OpenAI to run over to Claude just because of this conversation. I find, again, as a little bit childish, although everybody's entitled to their own relationship to their values and how they want to support the companies. But I think that both of these frontier models are exceptional. They do different things. I wish people would actually stop comparing them and start realizing that the way professionals are using these, we're using all of them. We're using all of them in different ways. We're not looking for the one. I think this is something that I find, people need to kind of restructure how they think about this stuff. We're not looking for the one. We're looking for how it can serve our visions, instead of trying to find the tool that we want to use. And, this is the next best tool, or now this one beat that tool and this one got released. We're not jumping from tools to tools anymore. We're actually using all of them, and we're building operating systems to be able to. It's the right
tool for the right project.
Absolutely. It's like we may have 2 or 3 hammers around our place. So if we need to hit different
types of hammers.
Yeah, and different screwdrivers. And I got a whole toolkit of different screwdrivers and all different lengths.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not looking for one screwdriver, one hammer. I'm looking for the right tools for the right job. And so I feel like it's a little bit, it's a nice statement. I'm always one for people, hear voices being heard and all of that. But I think that they're missing a little bit of the concept here, which is that these tools are important tools for everybody to be using.
Well, speaking of tools, okay, 2025 was basically the year of the chatbots, okay? And now 2026 is a year of agents. Yeah. AI systems that don't just answer questions, but actually plan, and they execute and they take action without constant human oversight. So what do you think about that? What's happening with 2026, and we're now in the year of agents? So
I think that's something that you're not going to expect that I'm going to say is, I think that actually, if you were following it, 2025 was supposed to be the year of the agents. Okay. So I think one of the things that when I hear that I think of is not, this is the year of the agents. Actually, what I think of is, hey, predictions are sliding. And where people are predicting stuff, and then, people have short-term memories, and the media just follows what gets attention for the minute. But in fact, those of us that have been in the game since 2022 or beyond, before, we were investing in agency companies in 2023 already. 2025 was supposed to be the year of the agent. And we were excited about that because of the investments that we made. Right?
It's like the year of Bitcoin was supposed to be this year.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Right. So I think that one of the things that there is to note about all that is that the timeline for fruition and adoption is longer than what people expect.
Always. And so, the same with crypto, same with so many of these tools.
Yeah.
Electricity was the same way. Same with cars. But sooner or later, it does do it. It's faster. But I do think that the adoption for AI is going to be faster, because I notice it's part of our infrastructure right now. It's embedded in all the phones. It's just becoming like electricity in the walls.
Well, it depends on how you say adoption, because adoption of tech companies, 100%, that's moving at light speed. I mean, every company is now adopting agents or AI into its tech.
Yes.
But adoption of humans, using it at the kind of way of actually taking on human work. I mean, there's humans using technology, and of course, we'll just see AI showing up in everything in our homes and everything in our cars and everything. That's fine. But that's not, to me, the biggest change. To me, the biggest change is human work and how we as humans approach our problem solving, decision making, our business intelligence, our future trends, how we actually come up with concepts of things, how we execute, how we create. That, I think, which everybody's yelling, oh my gosh, we're all going to lose our value. I think we're looking at another 5 to 10 years out. And I was listening to a great interview of somebody at Davos at a major AI conference, and they were saying, look, they predicted 10 years ago that we'd have self-driving cars in a couple of years. They started working on it 10, 12, 15 years ago. It takes time for these things to matriculate in. And so every year they've been saying, oh, taxis are going to be gone. Oh, Uber drivers are going to be gone. And there are a lot of Waymos. I mean, right now, San Francisco is like full of Waymos, right? You know, it's huge. It's like 1 in 10 cars, I think, in San Francisco are Waymos or something like that. But we're 12 years in, and it's still not all full self-driving. So I think that we've got some timelines on this, but it's a big wake-up call, and it's really important that people understand that things are changing, and they need to get in that, because when things are changed, it's going to be impossible to keep up and compete. I mean, you still would have seen companies that were not using email or really using computers kind of able to compete a little bit. I mean, it was tougher, but forget it. Like not using AI is like saying I'm not going to use a car, and I'm going to try to race faster than other people around the country.
People did protest cars for a while, and because things like that. Well, okay. Well, I think, is there anything else you'd like to add on this week's?
This week was crazy. And the fun thing is that I remember when Jeff and I were talking about what to talk about this week, he's like, there's just so much. There's so much that goes on. We could probably record this podcast 3 times a week and still not even keep up with all the news that's happening every single day. So it's an exciting time. We got to talk about OpenClaw at some point too here, which is made interesting changes and things like that. But we'll drop that little nugget and then we'll throw that into the next one.
The next podcast. I'm sure there'll be a whole new breakthrough next week.
Cool. All right. Thanks for joining us here at The Infinite Mindset. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.